The mysterious disappearance. The intergalactic fleet cruiser Resolute knifed through the obsidian void, its powerful thrusters propelling it toward the far fringes of known space. On the bridge, Captain Zara Vance surveyed the star field on the view screen, her brow creased in thought. The veteran commander had spent months petitioning Fleet Command to greenlight this mission, a quest to unravel a centuries-old mystery that had long captivated her imagination. "Captain, we're approaching the coordinates," announced Lieutenant Kenji Sato, the Resolute's navigator. "Dropping out of superlight in 30 seconds. Zara nodded in acknowledgement, feeling a thrill of anticipation mixed with trepidation. She was about to enter uncharted territory in search of answers to one of the greatest enigmas in human history, the disappearance of the colony ship Trailblazer over 600 years ago. The Trailblazer had been dispatched from Earth in the early days of humanity's expansion into the stars, carrying 10,000 intrepid settlers bound for a pristine world named Avalon. But sometime during its lengthy journey, the Trailblazer vanished without a trace, never reaching its destination. Despite extensive searches at the time, no wreckage or signs of the missing colonists were ever found. The ship's disappearance became one of the enduring mysteries of the era, a sobering reminder of the perils of interstellar travel. But now, 6 centuries later, a tantalizing clue had emerged. An unmanned probe mapping the farthest reaches of human-explored space had picked up an anomalous energy signature on a remote, uninhabited planet. Spectral analysis suggested it was consistent with the radiation emitted by a malfunctioning colonization-grade stasis pod, technology that had been carried by the Trailblazer. It was a long shot, Zara knew, but if there was even a remote chance that some trace of the Trailblazer or its passengers had been found, she had to investigate. The intergalactic fleet brass hadn't been easily convinced, dismissing the discovery as a probable sensor ghost. But Zara had lobbied fiercely, calling in every favor she'd accumulated over her sterling career, until at last she secured approval and command of the mission. The Resolute smoothly decelerated out of superlight, its viewscreen filling with a magnified image of their target, a rust-hued planet blanketed in swirling sandy winds. If the old charts were accurate, it had been designated Sidus X519 by the Trailblazer's astrogation surveys. The name, derived from ancient Latin meaning star, now seemed darkly ironic, a world that should have been a shining new home for humanity, but had instead become an interstellar tomb. "Initiate planetary scans," Zara ordered, studying the desolate globe. "Keep an eye out for anything that might explain that energy signature." As the bridge crew carried out her commands, Zara couldn't shake the sense of momentous import, as if they were on the cusp of a profound discovery. She had devoted countless hours to researching the Trailblazer and the era of its fateful voyage, poring over fragmented digital archives and crumbling physical records. The ship and its valiant crew had captured her imagination, and she'd come to feel a deep connection to their story. "Captain. I've got something," called out Ensign Alia Rashid, the sensor tech. Significant metallic returns from the planet's surface, bearing 227 Mark 14. Composition is consistent with polytitanium B, Trailblazer's hull material. Zara's heart leapt into her throat. Centuries of speculation and fruitless searches, and now, incredibly, they had found it, tangible proof of the Trailblazer's fate. A piece of history laid bare for the first time in 600 years. She turned to her first officer, Commander Tessa Belaikov. "Tess, assemble an away team. I want boots on the ground as soon as we've completed remote scans. If the Trailblazer really is down there, it's time we brought her story home." As the crew scrambled to action, Zara gazed at the image of the lonely, unknown world filling the viewscreen. For 6 long centuries, it had held the Trailblazer's secrets. She could only guess at the revelations that awaited them on the sands below. But one thing Zara knew for certain: as the Resolute slipped into orbit, she would not rest until she had pierced the veil and uncovered the truth behind the Trailblazer's disappearance, no matter where that truth might lead. In that moment, the mantle of history settled on her shoulders, and Captain Zara Vance vowed to be the voice for all the lost souls who never reached their bright future among the stars. This was their story, and she would be the one to tell it at last. An impossible signal. As the Resolute settled into a steady orbit above Sidus X-519, Zara found herself pacing the length of the observation deck, her mind awhirl with questions. The discovery of the Trailblazer's wreckage had electrified the entire crew, but for Zara, it was only the beginning of the mystery. She paused before the expansive viewport, gazing down at the planet's ochre surface. Somewhere down there, amidst the swirling sands and jutting rocks, lay the remains of the once proud colony ship. What had brought the Trailblazer to this forsaken world? What calamity had befallen its crew and passengers? A chime from her communicator interrupted Zara's musings. "Captain Vance, please report to the bridge. We've detected something unusual." Zara hurried to the bridge, where she found her crew huddled around the comm station, their faces awash in puzzlement. Lieutenant Kenji Sato glanced up as she approached, his expression grave. "Captain, we've picked up a signal from the planet's surface. It's faint and heavily degraded, but it appears to be a distress beacon, using an ancient human code." Zara felt a chill race down her spine. A distress signal? After all this time? It defied belief. She leaned in to study the readout, her eyes widening as she recognized the archaic communication protocol. It was a code that had been in use during the Trailblazers' era, long since obsolete. "Can we pinpoint the signal's origin?" Zara asked, her voice tight with tension. Kenji nodded, his fingers flying over the console. "I've traced it to a remote corner of the planet, approximately 200 kilometers from the Trailblazer's crash site. It's coming from some sort of subterranean structure." Zara straightened, her mind racing. A distress beacon, still active after 6 centuries, emanating from an underground facility. The implications were staggering. She turned to her first officer, Commander Tessa Belaikov, her eyes alight with determination. "Tess, ready the away team. We're going down there." Within the hour, Zara found herself in the cockpit of a shuttlecraft, guiding the small vessel through the planet's turbulent atmosphere. Beside her, Tessa monitored the sensor readings, directing their course toward the mysterious signal. As they descended through the swirling sands, the desolate landscape gradually resolved into a vista of jutting rock formations and deep canyons. And there, nestled in the shadow of a towering mesa, a glint of metal caught Zara's eye. "There. Set us down near that outcropping," she instructed, pointing toward the anomaly. The shuttlecraft touched down in a billowing cloud of dust, and Zara and her team disembarked, their boots crunching on the gritty surface. Ahead, half buried beneath the shifting sands, lay the unmistakable shape of a prefabricated structure, an emergency shelter of the kind once carried by colony ships like the Trailblazer. Zara's heart pounded as they approached the ancient module, its hull pitted and scarred by centuries of exposure. The distress beacon was emanating from within, its signal a ghostly echo of a long-ago calamity. With trepidation, Zara activated the external control panel, holding her breath as the mechanism creaked and groaned. Slowly, laboriously, the door ground open, revealing a darkened interior. Zara stepped inside, her helmet lamp casting a pale glow over the cramped confines. Consoles and equipment lined the walls, coated in a thick layer of dust. And there, in the center of the compartment, stood a single stasis pod, its indicator lights blinking weakly. Zara approached the pod, her heart in her throat. Through the translucent canopy, she could make out the features of a human figure, suspended in cryogenic slumber. A survivor from the Trailblazer, frozen in time for 6 long centuries. With trembling hands, Zara activated the pod's diagnostic display, hoping against hope for some clue to the occupant's identity. The screen flickered to life, and a name emerged from the ancient data stream. Silas Advent. Zara stared at the name, a chill coursing through her veins. A living witness to history, preserved against all odds. If the stasis systems had held, the occupant could be revived, and with him, the secrets of a vanished age. As Zara stood before the relic of a lost era, she knew that the mystery of the Trailblazer had only begun to unravel. The discovery of Silas Advent would reshape history itself. She could only wonder what revelations lay locked in this ancient sleeper's mind, and she knew that she must return him to the Resolute, where the past could be awakened at last. Their quest for truth had brought them to this moment, this ancient bunker beneath an alien sky. And as Zara contemplated the stasis pod before her, she felt the weight of centuries pressing down upon her, urging her onward to uncover the secrets that time forgot. Revival of the Lost Colonist. The Resolute's medical bay was a hive of activity as the ship's doctor, Li Mei, and her team prepared for the delicate task of reviving the lone survivor from the Trailblazer. Zara watched through the observation window, her heart racing with anticipation and trepidation. The stasis pod containing Silas Advent had been carefully transferred to the Resolute, where it now rested amidst a tangle of monitoring equipment and diagnostic scanners. Li Mei and her team had worked tirelessly to assess the ancient device, marveling at the resilience of its design. The stasis systems are still functional, but barely, Li Mei had reported to Zara. It's a miracle they've held out this long. We'll need to proceed with the utmost caution. Now, as the medical team made their final preparations, Zara felt the weight of the moment bearing down upon her. The fate of Silas Advent, and the secrets he carried, rested in their hands. At Li Mei's signal, the team initiated the revival sequence. The pod hummed to life, its indicators blinking rapidly as it began the delicate process of bringing its occupant back from the brink of eternity. Minutes ticked by, each one an agonizing eternity. Zara held her breath, her eyes fixed on the pod, willing it to succeed. And then, with a hiss of releasing pressure, the canopy began to lift. Mist billowed from the opening, obscuring the figure within. Slowly, a shape emerged from the fog, a man, his features youthful despite the centuries that had passed. His eyes fluttered open, blinking in the sudden light. Where am I?" Silas Advent's voice was hoarse, his words slurred by long disuse. Zara stepped forward, her heart in her throat. "Mr. Advent, my name is Captain Zara Vance of the Intergalactic Fleet. You're safe now. You've been in stasis for a very long time." Silas struggled to sit up, his movements sluggish. Li Mei and her team rushed to assist him, guiding him to a waiting bed. "How long?" Silas asked, his eyes wide with confusion and fear. Zara hesitated, knowing the shock that her answer would bring. "Mr. Advent." "Silas. I'm afraid it's been over 600 years since the Trailblazer disappeared." Silas stared at her, his face a mask of disbelief. 600 years. "But that's impossible. The Trailblazer, what happened? Where are the others?" Zara's heart ached for the man before her, torn from his own time and thrust into an unfathomable future. "We found the Trailblazer's wreckage on the planet below. As far as we can tell, you're the only survivor." "I'm so sorry." Silas closed his eyes, his shoulders sagging under the weight of Zara's words. Tears streamed down his face as the reality of his situation sank in. He was a man out of time, the last remnant of a lost age. As Li Mei and her team tended to Silas, Zara watched in silence, her mind reeling with questions. What had happened to the Trailblazer? Why had Silas been left behind, alone in stasis? In the days that followed, as Silas regained his strength, Zara spent hours by his bedside, listening as he recounted the final days of the Trailblazer. It was a tale of hope and despair, of brave pioneers setting out to forge a new future, only to be betrayed by an unfathomable calamity. "We were sabotaged," Silas revealed, his voice heavy with pain. "Someone on board, someone we trusted, they did something to the ship's systems. We lost control, plummeting toward the planet. I was in engineering, trying to fix the damage. The last thing I remember is sealing myself in the stasis pod, praying that someone would find me." Zara listened in horror, her mind reeling at the implications. Sabotage? But who would do such a thing, and why? As Silas spoke, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that his tale was only the beginning. The Trailblazer's fate was a mystery 6 centuries in the making, and she knew that she must unravel it, no matter the cost. For Silas Advent was more than just a living relic of a lost age. He was a reminder of the indomitable spirit of humanity, of the courage and determination that had propelled them to the stars. And as Zara looked into his eyes, she saw the flickering embers of that same spirit, ready to be rekindled in the face of an uncertain future. Together, they would unravel the secrets of the past, and in doing so, chart a new course for the future. The legacy of the Trailblazer would live on, carried forward by the last of its crew and the intrepid explorers who had found him. And though the path ahead was shrouded in shadow, Zara knew that they would face it together, united by the bonds of history and the unquenchable thirst for truth. The treacherous agenda. As Silas Advent slowly regained his strength aboard the Resolute, Zara found herself spending more and more time in his company, drawn to the enigmatic survivor and his incredible tale. In the quiet hours between her duties, she would sit by his bedside, listening as he recounted the final days of the Trailblazer in vivid detail. "We were so close," Silas said one day, his eyes distant with memory. "Avalon was within our grasp. We could see it on the view screens, a shining jewel of a world, just waiting for us to make it our own." Zara leaned forward, her heart aching for the man before her. "What happened, Silas? You said there was sabotage." Silas nodded, his expression darkening. "It started with small things at first. Systems malfunctioning, equipment going missing. We thought it was just the usual wear and tear of a long journey. But then, things escalated." He took a shuddering breath, his hands clenching into fists. "There were accidents, injuries. People started to whisper, to suspect that something was wrong. And then, just as we were preparing for the final approach to Avalon, all hell broke loose." Zara listened in horrified fascination as Silas recounted the ship's final moments, the alarms blaring, the crew scrambling to contain the damage as critical systems failed one by one. And at the heart of it all, a chilling realization. "It was no accident," Silas said, his voice heavy with pain. "Someone had deliberately sabotaged the ship. But who? And why?" As Zara delved deeper into Silas's story, a terrible picture began to emerge. The Trailblazer had been carrying more than just hopeful colonists and their dreams of a new life. It had also been carrying cutting-edge technology, the fruits of Earth's most advanced research. There were rumors, Silas confessed, his eyes haunted. Whispers of a secret cargo, of advanced prototypes and experimental devices. Things that could change the course of history, in the right hands, or the wrong ones. Zara felt a chill run down her spine as the pieces fell into place. The sabotage, the betrayal. It all made a twisted kind of sense. Someone had infiltrated the Trailblazer's crew, someone with an agenda that went far beyond the simple dream of colonization. They were after the tech, she breathed, her mind racing with the implications. But who? Who would do such a thing? Silas shook his head, his expression haunted. "I don't know. But whoever they were willing to sacrifice an entire ship, an entire mission, to get what they wanted." Zara's mind reeled with the revelation. An unknown enemy, lurking in the shadows of history. It was a chilling thought. But as she looked at Silas, she saw something else in his eyes, a glimmer of determination, a spark of defiance. "There's more," he said, his voice low and urgent. "Before the ship went down, I managed to secure the prototypes, the key pieces of tech. I hid them away, in a secret compartment in the engineering bay. If we can retrieve them." Zara nodded, her resolve hardening. "We'll find them, Silas. And we'll uncover the truth behind the Trailblazer's fate. No matter what it takes." As she made her way back to the bridge, Zara's mind was awhirl with plans and possibilities. The Trailblazer's story was no longer just a historical curiosity, it was a mystery with far-reaching consequences, one that could shape the future of humanity itself. And at the heart of it all, the enigmatic figure of Silas Advent, a man out of time, the last witness to a treachery that had echoed through the centuries. Together, they would unravel the secrets of the past, and in doing so, they would forge a new destiny for the intergalactic fleet and for all of humanity. But even as Zara steeled herself for the challenges ahead, she couldn't shake the sense of foreboding that clung to her like a shadow. For in the depths of space, ancient conspiracies and hidden agendas lurked, waiting to be unleashed. And as the Resolute set course for the Trailblazers' crash site once more, Zara knew that they were sailing into the heart of a storm centuries in the making, one that would test the limits of their courage, their ingenuity, and their resolve. The future lay shrouded in mystery, but one thing was certain: the legacy of the Trailblazer would be written in the stars, one way or another. And Zara Vance would be the one to see it through, no matter the cost. The fight for the future. As the Resolute descended once more through the swirling sands of Sidus X-519, Zara felt a growing sense of anticipation mingled with trepidation. Somewhere below, amidst the wreckage of the Trailblazer, lay the key to unlocking the mysteries of the past, and perhaps, to shaping the future of humanity itself. Beside her, Silas Advent sat in tense silence, his gaze fixed on the viewscreen as the desolate landscape unfolded before them. In the days since his awakening, he had become more than just a living relic of a lost age. He had become a symbol of resilience, of the unquenchable spirit that had driven humanity to the stars. As the Resolute touched down amid the jutting ruins of the colony ship, Zara and her team disembarked, their steps echoing across the millennia-old hull. Silas led them deeper into the wreckage, his memories guiding them through the twisted corridors and shattered bulkheads. At last, they reached the engineering bay, or what was left of it. The once proud heart of the Trailblazer lay in ruins, its advanced systems reduced to rubble and dust. But there, hidden beneath a pile of debris, Silas uncovered a small, nondescript container, the secret compartment where he had hidden the prototypes so long ago. With trembling hands, he opened the container, revealing a trove of advanced technology, devices that had been cutting-edge 6 centuries ago, but were now the stuff of legend. Zero-point energy converters, quantum computing cores, and other marvels that could revolutionize the intergalactic fleet and change the course of human history. But as Zara and her team marveled at the find, a sudden alarm blared through the Resolute's comms. "Captain Vance," came the urgent voice of Lieutenant Sato. "We've got incoming ships, bearing down on our location. They're not responding to hails." Zara's heart raced as she realized the implications. The unknown enemy that had sabotaged the Trailblazer so long ago, they were back, and they wanted the prototypes for themselves. "All hands, battle stations." Zara barked into her comms. "We've got hostiles inbound. Prepare to defend the Resolute at all costs." As Silas and the away team raced back to the ship, the sky above erupted in a firestorm of laser fire and plasma bolts. The Resolute's shields flared to life, barely holding back the onslaught as the enemy ships swooped and dived like birds of prey. On the bridge, Zara took command, her eyes blazing with determination. "Target their weapon systems," she ordered. "And get me a line to the Intergalactic Council. We need reinforcements, now." But even as the Resolute fought back with all its might, Zara knew that they were hopelessly outgunned. The enemy ships were advanced, their technology far surpassing anything the intergalactic fleet had ever seen. And at their heart, a chilling realization: these were no mere pirates or raiders, but the descendants of the very same faction that had betrayed the Trailblazer so long ago. As the battle raged on, Silas joined Zara on the bridge, his face etched with grim determination. "We can't let them have the prototypes," he said, his voice low and urgent. "If they get their hands on that technology." Zara nodded, her jaw clenched tight. "We won't let that happen, Silas. Not on my watch." With a surge of resolve, Zara rallied her crew, throwing every last ounce of the Resolute's strength into the fight. Against all odds, they held the line, beating back wave after wave of enemy ships until at last, the reinforcements from the Intergalactic Council arrived, turning the tide of battle. As the last enemy ship fled into the depths of space, Zara slumped back in her chair, exhausted but triumphant. They had done it, they had protected the prototypes, and with them, the future of humanity itself. But even as the crew of the Resolute celebrated their hard-won victory, Zara knew that their fight was far from over. The enemy that had lurked in the shadows of history for so long would not give up so easily. They would be back, and they would stop at nothing to claim the power of the Trailblazers' lost technology for themselves. And so, as the Resolute set course for the heart of the intergalactic fleet, bearing its precious cargo and the last survivor of a lost age, Zara steeled herself for the battles to come. The legacy of the Trailblazer had brought them to this moment, but it would be up to them to see it through, to forge a new future from the ashes of the past. Beside her, Silas Advent stood tall and proud, a living symbol of humanity's indomitable spirit. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by the bonds of history and the unquenchable thirst for a brighter tomorrow. The stars beckoned, and the Resolute answered their call, carrying the hopes and dreams of a species on the cusp of a new era, one that would be written in the tales of generations yet to come. A new purpose. As the Resolute docked at the sprawling orbital headquarters of the Intergalactic Council, Zara felt a sense of triumph mingled with trepidation. They had emerged victorious from the battle above Sidus X-519, but the true fight was only just beginning. In the days that followed, Zara and Silas found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of activity. The Council, once apprised of the situation, moved swiftly to secure the Trailblazers' lost technology, dispatching teams of scientists and engineers to study the prototypes and unlock their secrets. At the same time, news of Silas's miraculous survival spread like wildfire throughout the galaxy. The story of the Trailblazers' fate, so long shrouded in mystery, now captivated the imaginations of trillions. Silas Advent, the lost colonist out of time, became a symbol of hope and resilience, a reminder of the indomitable spirit that had carried humanity to the stars. For Zara, the weight of responsibility hung heavy on her shoulders. As the captain who had unraveled the mystery of the Trailblazer and brought its legacy to light, she found herself thrust into the spotlight, hailed as a hero by the masses. But even as the accolades poured in, Zara knew that their work was far from finished. The faction that had sabotaged the Trailblazer, the hidden enemy that had resurfaced to claim its lost technology, still lurked in the shadows. And she knew that they would stop at nothing to achieve their goals. In the heart of the Council's chambers, Zara stood before the assembled leaders of the galaxy, her voice ringing with conviction. "We cannot rest on our laurels," she declared. "The threat that destroyed the Trailblazer 6 centuries ago is still out there, waiting for the right moment to strike. We must be vigilant, and we must be prepared." Beside her, Silas nodded in agreement, his eyes blazing with a newfound sense of purpose. "The technology we recovered from the Trailblazer is a double-edged sword," he said. "In the right hands, it could usher in a new era of prosperity and progress for all of humanity. But in the wrong hands, it could spell our doom." The Council, moved by their words, pledged its support. The intergalactic fleet would be bolstered, its ranks swelled with new recruits and cutting-edge ships. And at the heart of it all, Zara and Silas would lead the charge, guiding humanity into an uncertain but hopeful future. As the weeks turned into months, the Resolute became the flagship of a new era, a symbol of unity and determination in the face of adversity. With Silas's expertise and Zara's leadership, they set out to explore the farthest reaches of the galaxy, seeking out new allies and technologies to aid in their cause. And always, the specter of their hidden enemy loomed on the horizon, a constant reminder of the stakes they faced. But Zara and her crew remained undaunted, driven by a sense of purpose that transcended the bounds of time and space. For they knew that the legacy of the Trailblazer was more than just a story of tragedy and betrayal, it was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, to the unquenchable thirst for knowledge and discovery that had propelled them to the stars. And as the Resolute charted a course through the vast expanse of the cosmos, Zara knew that they were not just explorers, but guardians, the vanguard of a new age, charged with protecting the future of humanity against all who would seek to destroy it. Silas Advent, the man out of time, had become more than just a living relic of a lost age, he had become a symbol of hope, a beacon of inspiration for generations to come. And together, he and Zara would lead the way, forging a path through the darkness and into the light of a new dawn. The stars beckoned, and the resolute answered their call, carrying the dreams of a species on the cusp of a great awakening. And though the road ahead was fraught with peril, Zara knew that they would face it head-on, united by the bonds of courage, determination, and an unshakable belief in the power of the human spirit. For the legacy of the trailblazer had taught them the most valuable lesson of all, that even in the darkest of times, hope could be found, and that the future was always worth fighting for. And fight they would, until the very end, for the sake of all those who had come before, and all those who would follow in their footsteps, to the very edges of the universe and beyond.